Welcome back to the Versatile PC channel. In today's video, we're going to be building our Mini-ITX build. I've had these parts for a little over a month now. I just haven't got around to building it. So in today's video, we're going to be using the Meshroom D, the case that is a Mini-ITX case, a little bit bigger than some other Mini-ITX cases. For our GPU, we're going to be using the Zotac 5070 Ti. This is the solid SF small form factor card. We're going to be using the special Micro Center exclusive here in the US, the 7600X3D. This is that one in stock. We're using 32 gigabytes of Corsair Vengeance RAM. We're going to be using the ASRock B650i Phantom Gaming Wi-Fi motherboard. For CPU cooler, we're going to go with the NAUTILUS 240 ARGB from Corsair. For our storage, we're going to be using 1 terabyte Western Digital Blue SSD. I don't even know if that's what's in here. I don't think it's the actual drive that's in here. I think it's a different box. But then for power supply, we're using a 850 watt, I think it is. Power supply, I think it's 850. Yeah, 850 watt Corsair power supply. This did come from Amazon. It says certified refurbished, so we'll see if it actually works. Hopefully it does. So let's start the build, I guess. We'll start getting the motherboard prepped. Let's unbox our motherboard first. Motherboard, we have this motherboard. The reason we bought the ASRock one, because when it comes to Mini-ITX builds, it is very expensive. Mini-ITX is generally more expensive to build than any other type of form factor. In terms of rear I/O, this doesn't have the most rear I/O support. Seven USB totals in the back, 1 USB-C, HDMI HDMI port, and then 2.5 gigabyte LAN. So it doesn't have the fastest LAN. It doesn't have 5 gigabyte LAN. It's 2.5, but it'll be plenty fast for what we use it for. Go ahead and prep our motherboard. First, we're going to start by unboxing our CPU. Unboxing our CPU. Get towards your friend, not you. Going to unbox our motherboard. Unbox our CPU. Is this right? I did it wrong. Our CPU. We're going to unbox our CPU. Move our motherboard out the way. Voila! Voila! I don't think I need to write this on. Okay. Voila! 7600X 3D. 7600X 3D unboxed. Let's go ahead and install our CPU into our motherboard. So we're going to pop our little tab up. We're going to unbox our CPU. Probably should not unbox this on top of your motherboard. With the life on the edge, though. There should be a little arrow in the top left-hand side over here. There's also an arrow here in the top left of your motherboard. Also, to line up with these bottom parts right there. So line up here. Line up with these little guides right there, top and bottom. And lower it down. Lower the latch. This cover will pop off, and your CPU is installed. Go ahead and set it off to the side. Next, we're going to install is our RAM. For RAM, we're using this Vengeance RGB DDR5 kit. Not the fastest kit we have, but it's good enough. This is a CL36 kit of 6000 megahertz DDR5. We're going to put it in both slots here because we don't have the option for 4 slots. We only have 2 slots on this motherboard. It appears that this bottom does not move, only the top two open and close. We're going to put our Corsair logo facing the motherboard. Make sure it clicks. Make sure both of them click in. Corsair logo facing the motherboard. Make sure it clicks in. Okay. For this one, we are actually going to not install our CPU cooler. Now, if it was an air cooler, we were going air cooled, we would install it. But for this one, we're just going to keep it as is. We're going to go ahead and install our drive. Go ahead and grab our iFixit kit, which we picked up from from Best Buy, the Summit Micro Center, bunch of different retailers. Go ahead and grab the right screw, right socket bit for the M.2 slot. And remove the M.2 slot cover. Now for this motherboard, if we were ever to add storage in the future, which we're not planning on, but if we do ever add storage in the future, we would actually recommend using the back M.2 slot on the rear of the motherboard before you install it into the case, because if not, you will have to take the motherboard back out in order to install M.2 slots or M.2 drives in the future. But since we're not doing that, this first one, the front one, will be the better one to use for us. This is just our LAN PC. This is just going to have a couple games on it. Nothing major. But there's also a rear M.2 slot right here you could use. That's where I would install your first drive. And if you're going to add storage in the future, you can always add it right here. But it does use the heatsink screw to tie down your M.2 slot or your M.2 drive. So we're going to install this, the Western Digital Blue drive. Make sure it's into the hole. Make sure it's fully slotted in. Go ahead and remove our heatsink cover, like so, and drop it upside down. Make sure it's the right side way. Make sure it's the right way. M.2 armor, and hold it down. Okay. Go ahead and install that. Now our M.2 drive is in. We're going to go ahead and put it into our case. Now, all right, generally when I do case prepping, I just remove all the panels I can remove. Take them all off. This is the Meshroom. I already mentioned. This is the SSUPD Meshroom case. It's super cool, I think, because one, it's gotten a little bit expensive, but it used to be pretty cheap, and every panel is mesh. Every single panel, top panel, side panel, bottom, middle, all mesh. Got to remove our case rails. Have to remove the case rails in order to really build in here. Another option for micro ATX cases is some of the Lee and Lee cases. The Lee and Lee Air? I don't remember what they are. Honestly, I didn't look too much into micro ATX cases or Mini-ITX cases when I was building this. I just seen this was on sale. It was pretty cheap, and I was like, I'll try it. And I seen another YouTuber by the name of Jay's 2 Cents. He actually did building this with the 5090, I believe, the 5090 Founders Edition. And I don't have quite the budget for that, but I do have the budget for a 5070 Ti, which I actually picked this one up, this 5070 Ti, for relatively decent price. I think I got it for $800 at Micro Center. So it wasn't the cheapest option, you know what I mean? Because the MSRP is $750, but $800 in the current market isn't too bad. Okay, let's go ahead and install our motherboard into our case. Let's go ahead and remove our peelie, or not. We're completely scuffed at it. Ugh. All right, let's go ahead and set this in here. What is thick, boy? Oh, it's a weird thing. Yeah, be careful. This does kind of get in the way, the rear plug. So let's go ahead and install our screws whenever we. Let's go ahead and set it on. This does kind of set onto the thing. Make sure your rear I/O lines up. Make sure your 4 screws line up in the 4 holes. Let's go ahead and put all our screws away in a second. Okay, so let's go ahead and install our do we want to do next? Want to do a power supply, or we want to do our CPU cooler first, or let's do our power supply next, I think. So, or at least our cables. Let's go ahead and unbox our power supply. So our power supply is this Corsair 850 watt power supply. All right, let's go ahead and with our CPU cables. Here's our power cord. If you want to see it, let's go ahead and find our CPU cable. PCIe cable. Don't need our high power cable, which we will need for this build. We have our CPU cable right here. So this has one CPU connector on it. So we only need to get one of our CPU connectors. Not quite sure where the power supply goes in this case, I'll be honest with you. Let's go ahead and grab our 24 pin. Do not get a 24 pin? No. So yeah, our 24 pin. And we will install our front panel connectors and our power switch. The nice thing about these smaller form factor cables is they're shorter. So we're not gonna have a bunch of cables to manage, or excessive cables to manage. We still have a bunch of cables to manage, just not a bunch of excessive cables to manage. All right, it's in there, done. Let's go ahead and install our front panel, our USB connectors, which goes right here. Our front USB-C connectors, which goes right here. Maybe not this one. What the hell? Oh, there we go. It's in there now. It's installed now, I think. What the hell? Why is it so like? Why is it so weird? Why is it so like weird? It only goes one way. Does it not go that way? There we go. Now it's installed. All right, now it's installed. Go ahead and install next our power supply switch, which we will have to read cable manage all this in the future. Like once we get our GPU installed, we'll have to like slide out the way. Maybe it'll come over this way. Let's go ahead and install our power supply. Power switch, positive, negative, doesn't matter. Go ahead and start a power switch. It's 2 holes. That USB-C, that one USB connector is correct. This USB connector is kind of sketching me out a little bit, I ain't gonna lie. Let's stay in there. There it goes. There, it's in there. Okay, we'll have to recable manage all this in the future once we get everything done with our power supply. So let's go ahead and install our CPU cooler. So I'm not sure what we need for a power supply exactly, where it mounts at. Let's go ahead and look at our instructions. Meshroom S. That's the case. For anybody who wondered, that is the case. So let's go ahead and see where our power supply goes. So our front rad, so our rad can go in the top. Wait, what? Oh, that's a different case. There's a Meshroom D. What's that? Okay. you know where our power supply goes. Okay, so 10 nuts on top. Okay. Well, I'm not quite sure. W audio. I'm not quite sure we're supposed to put our rad, but our power supply goes up here. So let's go ahead and install our power supply next. Oh, pick that up. All right, and then we'll go all the way around again. Tighten everything up. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and remove our. Oh, oh, oh! You can switch it around. Huh. Oh. Now you know. Of course, anything pops off. Of course, everything pops off. Oh, it's not as. Oh, okay. Oh, it's got the cordless here. So it doesn't have all these little dots and stuff in it like they portrayed it did. Oh, well, whatever. Whatever. All right, those little like things. Let's go ahead and find our CPU cables, or screws, or our wires now. We're just gonna keep it zip tied, I think, for now. We're going to, if we can, right up to the top of the motherboard. Actually, yeah, we gotta get a little bit of length out of it, so we'll just pull it a little bit. Oh, right, let's get a little bit of length out of it. So now we find our CPU header and our ARGB header, which we don't really care about the RGB part, but right, so let's find our CPU header, CPU fan. There's no AIO pump labeled. Nope. Is that really AIO? Are you sure there's an AIO pump labeled somewhere? I'm not sure. Let me go look on the motherboard box, see if there's a way to tell. Just to make sure I put. Sometimes they have an AIO pump. I'm guessing that would be AIO pump. I'm guessing that would be AIO pump. The top right. Just say water pump. The WP for water pump. Okay, so let's go ahead and plug it into our top right one. We'll plug in our RGB. Plug in our RGB. Very lightly. Very carefully plug in our RGB because they do bend easily. Very careful when you plug in your RGB. All right. Let's go ahead and install our radiator fans. There we go. Okay. So the bottom not being very solid is a little bit annoying to me. Like having like some kind of frame on it that holds, like even if it's just a frame, even if it's just a bracket on the bottom you can put on when you're not using the bottom fans, right? Like we are. If we had bottom fans down there, maybe we could get away with it. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here. This is our build. A little bit more RGB than I expected it to be, like initially when I first thought about the build, but it's okay. It's fine. It's all right. So thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, hopefully our next videos aren't as scuffed with building these the small form factor. Hopefully we won't build any more of these. I'm not very good at it. And you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, comment, other videos you want to see in the future, other builds you want to see. We have a lot more builds we can do. We have different graphics cards we can put in there. We have different cases we can use, different motherboards we can use. So we'll build those if you guys want to see it. And thank you guys so much for watching. See you all in the next one. Bye.